Just pay attention. Tomorrow's quiz is 10 questions, multiple choice. The first 2 questions on the quiz will be factoring binomials. Okay, so if you see a binomial like this, you would factor it by listing out its prime factors. To make a 3x squared, you would do 3 times x times x. To make 12x, you would do a 3 times 2 times 2 times x. Everybody following? Then you circle what they have in common. They have a 3 in common. So, they have a 3 in common. They also have 1x in common. What they have in common is known as their greatest common factor, their GCF, and that's what you factor out of the binomial. On the inside, you leave what was not in common, like an x was not circled, and on the bottom a 2 times a 2 was not circled. And then the sign just always comes down, and that's your answer. Okay, so let's try one more of those. Let's try number 10. Number 10, our terms are 5b squared and 20b. To get a 5b squared, you have to do 5 times b times b. Okay, 20b is 5 times 4, but 4 will break down into a set of 2's, and then 1b. So we circle what they have in common. They both have a 5, and they both have a b. That means their GCF is 5b, and that's what's factored out. Remember, factoring is like undistributing. That's not a real word, but it's like you're undistributing the 5b. So now, on the top row, b was not circled, and on the bottom row, 2 times 2 was not circled, and then you bring down the plus, and that's your answer. But keep in mind, this quiz is going to be multiple choice, so even if you don't know how to factor, couldn't you take each of the 4 choices and distribute them out until you found the one that made that? 5b times b is 5b squared. 5b times 4 is 20b. So you could take all 4 choices, distribute them out, and see which one makes the question. So that's what questions 1 and 2 will look like tomorrow. Questions 3 and 4 will also be binomials, but they're going to be a difference of 2 squares. The reason this is called a difference of 2 squares is difference for the obvious reason, and then each of these are perfect squares. Whenever you're dealing with a difference of 2 squares and you're asked to factor it, you factor it into 2 binomials. Now, the key thing about these binomials with a difference of 2 squares is they're almost identical with the exception of their signs. To get 25x squared, can't you just do 5x times 5x? And to get 4, can't you just do 2 times 2? See how they're almost the exact same binomial except for the signs? That'll happen anytime you're dealing with a difference of 2 squares. Okay, so let's try 21. We have a difference, and then both of those are perfect squares. And everybody knows what I mean when I said perfect squares, right? So anytime you're dealing with a difference of 2 squares, you factor it into 2 binomials that are going to be almost identical except for the signs will be opposite. Okay, so if you look at a binomial and it's a difference of 2 squares, and an answer choice has the same sign, you automatically know that answer is wrong. It has to have opposite signs. To get 25x squared, don't you just do 5x times 5x? And to get 4y squared, don't you just do 2y times 2y? And that's the answer. Okay, so that's what numbers 3 and 4 will look like tomorrow. But just like the others, if you don't know how to factor it, couldn't you just take each choice and distribute it out until you got this? Okay, the next 2 questions on the test are going to look like these. A trinomial with a leading coefficient of 1. Anytime you're dealing with a trinomial and the leading coefficient is 1, you can go right into the bubble method. X times x will make the x squared, and then to get your numbers, you're looking for 2 numbers. Those numbers have to multiply to give you your constant value, which is a negative 20. And those same 2 numbers must add to give you your coefficient on your regular, your linear term, which is negative 1. What numbers will do that? They won't make a 1 when you add them. 5 and 4. But what kind of 5 and 4 will add up to a negative 1? Negative 5. Remember, if you want your answer to stay in the negatives, the bigger number needs to be negative. If you want your answer to stay positive, the bigger number would need to be positive when you're adding. So now it's x minus 5, x plus 4, and you're done. But remember, just like always, if you don't know how to factor, couldn't you take each choice, distribute it, combine like terms, and see which one takes you back to the question? Okay, x times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x, and negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. And then won't those combine to be in the middle of negative 1x? So just take each of your 4 choices and distribute it till you get your answer. Okay, let's try one more of these. Number 4, v squared plus 12v plus 35. It has a 1 as its leading coefficient, so we don't have to do anything fancy for those kind. V times v will make v squared. What times what multiplies to 35 and adds to 12? 7 and 5. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 plus 5 is 12. Now keep in mind, on the quiz, you may see it like this, because it's multiple choice, so it might not be the way you would write it. It might be in that order, and that's still the same answer. Okay, so that's what 5 and 6 look like on the quiz. 7 and 8 look like what we learned yesterday. Whenever your a value is greater than 1. See how this time the leading coefficient is 2? Okay? But that 2 is also a GCF, because can't you divide each of these by 2 and it'd be a whole number? So that means 2 is your GCF. So whenever you divide it out, what trinomial remains? Right, because those cancel out, leaving just n squared. 6n over 2 is 3n. Negative 108 over 2 is negative 54. Now that you've taken that 2 out, don't you have a trinomial that looks like the ones on the previous page that you can just bubble method? So n times n, but to get our numbers, they have to multiply to what? And add to what? 3. So what numbers will do that? 9 and negative 6. Okay, because those multiply to negative 54, and 9 minus 6 is 3. So n minus 6, n plus 9. 2 has to be in the answer as well. If 2 is not in the answer, it's wrong. Okay, let's try one more of those. Let's do number 7, I guess. What is the leading coefficient for number 7? 8. Is 8 a GCF for this trinomial? Yes, because you can divide all 3 of these by 8 and you are left with whole numbers. That means 8 is a GCF, you factor it out. So look, when you divide this one by 8, those cancel, leaving v squared. Bring down the plus. 32v divided by 8 is 4v. Negative 96 divided by 8 is negative 12. Now we have a trinomial, the easier kind of trinomials that we can bubble method. V times v will make the v squared, and we're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to a negative 12, and those same 2 numbers must add to a positive 4. 6 and 2, what kind of 6 and 2? Negative 2. Because you want your answer to be positive when you add, so the bigger number needs to be positive. So v plus 6, v minus 2. So there's the answer. Remember, 8 has to be part of the answer. Okay, so that's what questions 7 and 8 look like on tomorrow's quiz. Questions 9 and 10 look like the ones we're going to continue practicing today, where your leading coefficient is bigger than 1, but you can't GCF it. Okay? So how many of these did we do yesterday? Just the first 2? So we're on number 5? Okay, so number 5. What is the leading coefficient? 4. Can I divide all 3 of these by 4 and get whole numbers? No. So this is not one where we can factor out the 4. This is one where we have to do our new method. You're looking for 2 numbers that multiply and add. They add to what? negative 11. You're still adding to get your linear coefficient. And then this time, though, instead of just multiplying to 6, they have to multiply to 24. 6 times 4. And what numbers do that? Okay, so now I have n minus 8, n minus 3. Why is that not the final answer? Think about it. If you were to stop and distribute that back out, is n times n going to make 4n squared? Right. That's why we have to divide by the leading coefficient of 4 and then simplify. N minus 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then over here, will 3 divided by 4 reduce to a lower fraction? No. 3 over 4 is in lowest terms. Will it become a whole number? No. So in that case, you move the 4 to the front and you get 4n minus 3. Okay, now remember, you can quickly check this, even without writing anything. Okay, watch me check it without writing anything, except maybe some little markings. N times 4n is 4n squared. Negative 2 times 3 is positive 6. Negative 3n and negative 8n would combine to negative 11n. Okay, I just distributed it out in my head. Okay, now let's try number 7. What is the leading coefficient? Can you factor out the 4? No, because 29 divided by 4 is not going to be a whole number, and neither is 30 divided by 4. So we have to use our new method. What are we going to multiply to get this time? 120. 30 times 4 is 120. And what are we adding to get? 29. Now, guys, even for me, I can't sit here right off the top of my head and think of those numbers. So I use my calculator. I go and I type in 120, and then I just start dividing it by 2. Is 2 and 60 going to give me a 29? So I go to the next number, 120 divided by 3. Are 3 and 40 going to give me 29? No. So I go to the next number. Just be careful skipping around. You might miss the one you're looking for. Are 4 and 30 going to give me a 29? Okay, so 120 divided by 5. Are 5 and 24 going to give me a 29? Yes, so those are my numbers, 5 and 24. 5 times 24 is 120. 5 plus 24 is 29. So then you write them in factors. A plus 5, A plus 24. But that cannot be the answer, because if you were to stop and distribute that out now, A times A is not 4A squared. So that's why we have to divide both of them by that leading coefficient of 4, and then reduce. Will 5 over 4 become a whole number? Will it reduce to a lower fraction? No. So we're ready to kick the 4 to the front and get 4A plus 5. And then over here, 24 over 4, will it reduce to a whole number? 6. And so that's your final answer. Think about it. Isn't 24 over 4 like 6 over 1? So aren't you technically just kicking a 1 out to the front, but you don't have to write a 1 right there? Now, watch me quickly check it. And remember, you're going to have multiple choice, so you can do this on all the choices. 4A times A is 4A squared. 5 times 6 is 30. The 4A and the 6 make a 24A. 5A, 24A and 5A combine to 29A. Is it starting to sink in a little more? Okay, number 9. What is your leading coefficient? Is it a GCF? No, you can't do 15 divided by 4 or 9 divided by 4. So we have to use our new method. Charlie, this time, what are we multiplying to get? No, that's adding to get 15. What are we multiplying to get? Not this time. 36. Anytime there's a number in the front that you couldn't factor out, you have to multiply that number by that number, and that's where you get 36. Does that make sense? So now, this one you might be able to do without a calculator. Can anybody think of the numbers that will do that? 12 and 3. But even if you need a calculator, that's fine. Use it. So our factors are x plus 12 and x plus 3. But that's not the final answer because x times x is not 4x squared. So what do we do next? Divide both of them by 4 and then reduce and simplify. What is 12 over 4? 3. So that one's done. Will this reduce? No. So you kick the 4 to the front. 4x plus 3, and then that's the answer. Okay, and the reason it's the answer is because x times 4x is 4x squared. 3 times 3 is 9. 3x and 12x combine to 15x. Okay, go ahead and try the top right one. I guess it's number 2. Go ahead and try it by yourself before I just do it for you. For number 2, what is the leading coefficient? 6. Can you factor out 6? No, because it won't divide out of 7 or 2. So you have to do our new method. And so we're multiplying to get 12 and adding to get 7. What numbers will do that? 3 and 4. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 plus 4 is 7. So your factors are v plus 3 and v plus 4. Remember, it doesn't matter what order you list them in. Then what do I need to do? Divide each of them by 6. And then both of those can be reduced. Remember, if you have trouble reducing, this is what you do. On the calculator, you do alpha y equals n over d. Type in the fraction that you're trying to reduce and hit enter, and it reduces it for you. Okay. Yeah? Oops, my bad. Okay, so it reduces to 1/2. Okay, then over here, what will 4 over 6 reduce to? 2/3. Okay, now, since neither one of those are whole numbers, you kick the denominators to the front of the v. So this one will become 2v plus 1, and this one will become 3v plus 2. Okay, go ahead and try 4 if you haven't already. If you've already done it, just keep working. 4. 6 is the leading coefficient, but it's not a GCF. So you have to do the multiply to get 6 times negative 21, which is negative 126, and add to get negative 5. What numbers will do that? 9 and 14? Okay. So that's x plus 9 and an x minus 14. Then you have to divide both of those by the leading coefficient of 6 and reduce. What does 9 over 6 reduce to? 3 over 2. And what does 14 over 6 reduce to? Right. And since they're both still fractions, this is where you kick the denominator out to the front. Right. And then look, 2x times 3x is 6x squared. 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. Negative 14x and 9x combine to a negative 5x. Okay, go ahead and try 6, 8, and 10. I'll just pop up the answers, and when you're done with that, you can be working on page 18. Okay, number 6. What did y'all get for your answer? Whoa, I can't hear this. Shh. What? That does stuff. I don't think that sounds right. B minus 1. 6b minus 1? Okay, that sounds right, because look, b times b is 6b squared. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. And when you do the negative 1b and the negative 6b, they combine to a negative 7b in the middle. Okay, number 8, what did y'all get? Oh, my bad. Well, whatever. 6b times b is 6b squared. 7 times 7 is 49. And then 42b and 7b add up to 49. Okay, number 10, what did you get? B minus 3 and 6b minus 5 plus 5. Okay, let me quickly check it. B times 6b is 6b squared. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. 5v and negative 18v combine to a negative 13v. See how easy it is with multiple choice just to do what I'm doing to check them, even if you don't know how to factor it? What did you get? You'll have to bring it up and I'll have to distribute it out. Okay, make sure you study for the quiz. Make sure you finish page 18 for homework.